Hey guys, what's up? My name is Rody Davis, and we're going to be building a Gmail app with Flutter. If you're not familiar, it's a new iOS SDK, and you can build Android and iOS apps with it. All right, let's jump right in. So, if you're not familiar, you can download Flutter from flutter.io. You can get started. You can just download it, and like I said, it's a SDK allowing you to build Android and iOS apps really quickly using a hot reload and a bunch of other things under the hood, but essentially allows you to use native code and a super expressive UI. We'll also be using VS Code throughout this tutorial, so if you want to, you can go ahead and download it, and I'll have all the links in the description below. So you can download it for Mac or Windows. And I will also link to the final source code if you want to just go ahead and download the project and get started. Okay, so now that you have Flutter installed, let's go ahead and open up VS Code and install some extensions. Go ahead and search for Flutter and install this extension. After that, go ahead and install PubSpec Assist as well as Dart Import. Once you have those installed, let's go ahead and create a project. Go ahead and open up the folder where you want to create the project. Hit Command P if you're on Mac. What this does is we're going to go to File. So that's a shortcut for that. Open up the arrow and type Add Dependency. Sorry. Let's go ahead and start our Flutter project. Go ahead and type Flutter. We're going to do Flutter New Project and type Gmail clone. Select the folder. Now we have our brand new Flutter project. Now, in order to use Flutter, you still have to have Android Studio or at least the Android SDK and Xcode for development. You can develop Flutter on a PC, but you will not be able to release your iOS apps unless you're using something like CodeMagic. So for this tutorial, we're going to be using the iOS side, but this Flutter still allows you to build for iOS and Android with one code base. So once you have that installed and created, let's go ahead and hit run. Now this is going to run the default project that Flutter creates. Now it's going to take a little bit longer the first time just because it has to build the project. It'll be faster after that. So what you get is a simple widget that will allow you to update a value on the screen. Now what this is doing in the background is in Flutter, everything's a widget. So here's a scaffold, here's an app bar, here's a text, which is a title. You have the state of the counter, as well as description, and a floating action button, which then has an on press, as we can see over here. We have an icon. You can even hold down on it, see a tooltip. So that's the beauty of Flutter, is it allows you to declaratively make your UI. So you can go so fast and make reusable components. Okay, so let's go ahead and create a new folder on the project called UI. And inside that, let's create a new file called home.dart. We're going to import the material package and type st. Now for this, we're going to use a stateful widget. Flutter also has stateless widgets, and they're used in different use cases. Stateless means that there's no state that can be stored. Stateful means that every time the app builds, you have to call set state to rebuild the widget tree. So we're going to do stateful. We're going to do homepage. Perfect. Let's replace the container with a scaffold and an app bar with an app bar inside of it. Which title is going to be a text. Text will say Gmail clone. And format with, on a Mac, Option, Shift, and F. Go ahead and copy the home page. Let's go back to main, delete the generated code over here, and replace home with this. It's a home page, and let's remove these comments. So now you can see also in VS Code, you can toggle autosave. So every time you make a change to your code and there's no errors, it's going to auto update. So that's why you see it auto updating on the left. Just to show you how fast it is, let's create a body inside the scaffold with a center and a child and a text that says new widget. Immediately updates. All right, so let's go back to our pubspec.yaml and add some dependencies. So if you added the extension from earlier, pubspec assist, let's go ahead and use that. And we're going to type responsive scaffold. And after that, let's do floating search bar. One more or two more, we're going to do INTL, International Translation, but the first one for the date time components. And finally, we're going to do Flutter Markdown. Okay, perfect. Now let's go ahead and stop our app and run packages git. Let's also create a new folder called assets. Inside that folder, let's create a email preview .md. This will be a markdown file. Inside that markdown, let's go ahead and create a simple markdown. So let's do Gmail. This is a preview with markdown. First item. Second item. All right, so let's go back to our pub spec, and down here under assets, let's uncomment this. Remove these two lines, and we're going to do assets slash email preview slash dot markdown, so .md. Run packages git one more time, and let's run our application. Everything else can get hot reloaded while we're creating this. We won't have to keep building. Let's go into the debugger and hit start. Use Flutter. Oh, awesome. So once that's installed, let's go ahead and go down into our home.dart. And just to save some time, let's go back to main, create a new folder called data. Inside that, we're going to do one called classes. Another folder called classes. And inside that folder, we're going to have one called email. In this file, we're going to have a class. Class is going to be called email item. Create some fields. So we're going to have a final string of title, description, and avatar. We're going to have a date time, date, and we're not going to have a final. It's just going to be favorite, and we're going to set a default value of false. Once we do that, we can create our constructor. So go in, copy that, and we're going to create an open parentheses, open curly braces, do an avatar, date, description, favorite, title, add a trailing comma for the formatting, and a semicolon at the end. Go ahead and hit Option, Shift, and F. That'll format it nice for us. Let's go up one level under classes, and inside data, create a new file called dummy data. Inside that, we're going to create a list of email item. So do list with the open arrow of email item. Type emails to email item, brackets, and close. I'll see a red line, so double click on it, and we're going to import the class that we just created. Let's go ahead and create an email item for us to work with. So do a new email item. Let's do avatar RD. Title will be new Flutter app. Description will be just some quick thoughts. We'll do favorite to true and a date time of now. Go ahead and format that. You can create as many of these as you want. Just make sure you add all the fields. Okay, so now that we've done that, let's go into our home.dart. Now, since it's a stateful widget, we want to get access to the list of emails. So let's create a new list of email item. Private emails by doing an underscore. And we're going to make it null, or make it empty, sorry. To import by clicking on there. We're going to add a init state. So just type init and the autocomplete will show up. So we're going to grab the private emails. Have it equal to emails. Import. And now when the app loads, it will provide us with the list of emails, which in this case is just the one from the dummy data. Now let's go in and also set a tablet breakpoint. In this app, we want it to show a list view on mobile, but on tablet, we want to be able to see the details on the right side. So we need to set a breakpoint. So go ahead and do final size, do tablet breakpoint equal to size, do 510 by 510. So now we can start working, or let's go ahead and import some packages too, just to make it a little bit easier. Go ahead and import responsive scaffold and floating search bar. let's replace all of this scaffold with return responsive scaffold.builder and add a trailing semicolon. This is going to require a couple things. Let's do item count. Item count is going to be equal to the emails question mark dot length question mark 0. That says that if there's no items, always return 0. We're going to do item builder, which will take a field context index. Right now, we're just going to return a list tile with a leading text of the index to string. Now this also requires a detail builder. So go ahead and we see it needs a build context, index, and a bool. So we're going to do build context, index, and a bool for tablet. Right now we're going to return a detail screen with a body, an app bar, a title, and a text. We're going to say details. And it also needs a body. Under the app bar, we're going to do container. This is what you can use to kind of, or actually let's do placeholder. This will take the place of when we're working with a widget. So let's go ahead and do hot restart. So do the commit, go to file by the command P. Going to drill down with the arrow button and let's do hot restart. And that just starts the application from main from the very beginning. And we see we have our 0 up at the top. So now let's add the floating search bar like you see on Gmail. So this widget called responsive scaffold can take some slivers. Slivers are just a dynamically created widget that are a little bit more flexible than the ones that you get. So let's do floating search bar. And need to do floating. No, sorry. We need to do sliver floating bar. Sliver floating bar. We're going to do, this one's going to take a title of a text field. Inside that text field, let's do a decoration. So we're going to do input decoration dot collapsed with a hint text of search mail. Let's also add a trailing. So do trailing circle avatar. Take a child of a text. You can put whatever you want here, but I'm just going to do RD, my first and last name. All right, let's now create inside the UI folder. Let's create a new folder called app. And use this to store all widgets related to the global version of the app. So we're going to create a new file called app drawer. Inside this, we're going to import material. And we're going to create a stateless widget. So do st, and you'll see stateless. And type app drawer. Place container with drawer. And do a child of a placeholder. Okay, once we have that, let's go into back to our widget, and under the detail builder, let's do type drawer and then do app drawer. Let's import what we just created. And as you see, this is going to automatically imply that there's a drawer in the scaffold. So when you tap on that, you'll be able to see the drawer that we just created. Also, when you tap on this list view, when you tap on the 0, for example, it's going to push to the detail screen. And on tablet, which I'll show later, is going to show it side by side. Okay. Now under slivers, let's add one under here called sliver to box adapter. We're going to add child, the container. Inside that container, we're going to have some padding. Do edge insets only. Do bottom. Oh, sorry. We're going to do edge insets all with 12. We're going to have child. Or once we do that, we're going to, and for the container, we're going to have a child, the text, and it's going to say all inboxes. Now let's go ahead and go back to our UI folder, create a new one called common. Let's create our email tile. So inside common, create a new email tile. Let's go ahead and import material. Now we're going to create a stateless widget. So do type ST, and then you'll see stateless widget, Flutter stateless widget, and we're going to do email list tile. Perfect. Now, in order to render this, we need a couple things. We're going to need the email item itself. So type email item, and we need a void callback for when we want to change if the email is favorited or not. So do void callback favorite changed. Now we can build our constructor. So take the email list tile, open parentheses, open curly brace, and do this. Change this item. Add a trailing comma, semicolon, and then format. Now we always need the email item. So go ahead and hit required or type required in front of the item. Double click on email item to import it. So now we have that list tile. We can go into our home.dart and select the email list tile that we just did. This is just for convenience, but we can copy it and go back to common, and we can replace this with this. And we can change the text to title, or to replace pleading with title. And then we're going to do a text with the item dot title. We're going to give it a default value in case it's null. Go back or copy this widget name, and we're going to replace this list tile with it. Go ahead and import it and give it the email item that it needs, which will be emails index. And we're going to also do the void callback that we added earlier. So favorite changed. As you can see, it already loaded our new data. Okay, back to email dot email-tile.dart. Okay, so let's start constructing the way this is going to look for the list tile. For right now, we can remove this and do return container. We're going to give it some padding. Just going to give it a little bit more room to breathe. Now we're going to give it a row. So in this row, we're going to have the left, middle, and right side of the email tile. So for the left side, let's do the avatar. So do container. Child of a circular avatar. The child text of the item, question mark dot avatar, and the default value. See, there's that. Now after that, let's also give it some horizontal padding. So do padding, edge insets, symmetric. We're going to do horizontal. We're going to give it 8. Also for the circular avatar, let's give it a radius of 25. It just makes it a little bit bigger. Okay. After the container, we need an expanded. This just makes sure to fill up the available space with the biggest it can be. Let's do container. And inside the container, we're going to have a column for the child. So child, column, children. Those children, we're going to have 2 texts. We're going to have the title and the description. So let's do text, item, our title. For convenience, you can copy this and paste this. Let's change this to description. Now we see we have what our data is. Now on the column, we want it to be right up against this line. So let's change column main axis alignment. And we're going to do, let's do cross axis alignment because it's going across. Cross axis alignment. We're going to do start. See, this is going to put it right up next to it. And let's also style this text. So for the title, let's go in and do style, do theme of context. We're going to do text theme. We're going to do display one. We're going to do copy with so we can add some additional changes. We're going to do font size. So let's do font size 16. So it's going to style that text. Now we can copy this to be a little bit quicker and paste this. Let's change display one to body one. Same font size is okay, but we're going to change the color. So do color and do colors.gray. Awesome. It's coming along. So at the end of the expanded, we want to add one more, and that's going to be the favorite and the date. So do column. Text. We're going to do date time. Date format. And let's go ahead and import that. This is going to be the international package. If we don't see it, you can just import it. So INTO. We're going to do dot, and then let's do JM. format. We're going to do item date. Question mark, date time dot now. Cool. So after that, let's add an icon button. This will be the favorite widget that we're going to be able to change if we want to favorite or not this email. So do icon, another icon dot, let's do favorite. Oh, let's do star. Okay. I'm going to have an on pressed event. Control. Now let's see. Let's change the icon based on if it's favorited or not. So do a parentheses, do item, not favorite, false. Give it a default if it's not false. And we're going to do question mark and copy this. And add a semicolon. So that's going to say if it's favorited, show this icon, otherwise show this one. And we're going to change this one to border, star border, which is just going to be an outline. And we're going to give it this one, if it is favorited, let's add a color of amber. So do colors dot amber. Sweet. Now we want to call set state right here. Oh, nope, sorry. We're going to call favorite changed. Now what this is going to do is, since it's a stateless widget, when we tap on this, all it's going to do is pass up that constructor up to our list builder right here. So let's go in and type set state here, because we actually want the email tile to rebuild. Let's do emails current index dot favorite is equal to, let's do the inverse of what this is. So do exclamation point and the same thing. Now it'll change it to whatever the opposite is. So if we tap on the star, it's going to either enable or disable right here on this class. So this favorite value. Again, the void callback, all it's doing is just pushing that state up higher in the tree. And when it changes it, it will change the opposite. So let's go in. And now let's work on the detail view, or the email fab. So go back to your common, and we're going to do email fab. Import material. Create a new stateless widget called email fab. And right now, we're just going to return a floating action button. That floating action button will need a child. So let's do child. We're going to do icon, icons.add. Give an on-pressed event. This is a placeholder. So let's go in and copy email fab. Go back to your home.dart. And let's add a floating action button. So type that and then put in your newly created email fab. And when we click import, it should show up right here. Perfect. Now let's actually change this email fab to look like the one in the new Gmail app. So what we're going to do is create a custom painter class. We're going to do class, do floating painter. And we're going to extend custom painter. We're going to override the methods, so implement those. With this, let's go ahead and start drawing to the canvas. So should repaint should be, we're going to set that to false. So you can remove this by an inline method. So you can say this to false, and should rebuild semantics we can also turn. So also set this to false as well. Awesome. So now let's get into the actual painting itself. So under paint, let's create because the Gmail icon has 4 different colors. So let's create each of those. So let's do paint, let's do amber paint. It's equal to amber paint. It's equal to paint. And we're going to give it a color of amber. So do colors.amber and a stroke width is equal to 5. Okay, let's copy this and use it 4 times or 3 times. So we have 4. Change this to green paint and the color to green. Change the third one to blue paint and the color to blue. And the final one to red paint. Color of red. Okay, now that we have our 4 constructors or paint objects, let's do canvas. Draw a line. We do offset. We're going to give it the size of the width plus 0.27. Height. The size.height plus 0.5. And we can copy this, and we're also going to do the same thing but 0.5 and 0.5. And for paint, we do amber paint. Add your trailing semicolon. Now we're going to just copy this and do this 3 times. And change this to green paint. Change the third one to blue paint. And the 4th one to red paint. Now this one's going to be, the second one is going to be, for the green, it's going to be 0.5 by 0.5. And the second one is going to be 0.5 by 2.7. This third canvas line is going to be 0.5 by 0.5. And then we're going to do size.width is equal to for this one, we're actually for the height. I'm going to paste in this code so that you guys have it. This would just be easier if I can just paste it. I'll link to a video that goes into more depth with this. Okay, I'm going to paste this in. Yeah, like I said, there's a video that goes way more in depth to this custom painting. So now that we have that, let's go back up to our floating action button. And for the child, let's remove the icon and do floating painter or custom paint. The child of a container, the comma, and for the custom painter, let's do foreground painter, floating painter that we just created. Let's give it a background color. We're going to do theme of context dot brightness is equal to brightness dot dark. Let's do null. Otherwise, do colors dot white. Okay, so now we have that nice new floating action button, just like in the Gmail. Now let's work on the email view. So create a new item called email view.dart. This will be what we see when we tap on the email. Let's go ahead and import the material. We do a stateful widget, so do type st, go down to stateful. We're going to type email view. Now this is also going to need a couple things, so you can actually, if you want to, it needs the exact same things as the email item. So we can copy this, go down to email view, paste that, add our constructor, email view, open parentheses, and then bracket, favorite, and item. And we're going to require the item. So add required right in front of that, and double click on email item to import the item. Okay, now this will be okay, so we're going to use Markdown for this, but before we do, let's go ahead and copy email view, and let's go to the home.dart. Now, once you're in there, we're going to type detail screen right here. We're going to have an app bar and a body. So for the body, let's replace placeholder with email view. Since it's the exact same thing from before, let's copy item and favorite changed, and you can paste it in right here. It requires the same thing. Now let's work on this app bar. So we can remove the title and type actions. Now we're going to type icon button. We're going to do icon, and we're going to do icons.archive. Have an onPressed event. And let's copy this icon button, and we'll paste it 3 more times. For the second one's going to be delete outline. Third one will be mail outline. And the fourth one's going to be more horizontal. For delete outline, we can do set state emails remove at. We'll pass in the index, and we can check to see if it's a tablet, because otherwise we need to. So if it's on a tablet, it's going to show the view on the right, but if it's a mobile, we're going to be inside this view. So we need to pop to the previous screen. So we're going to do under set state. We're going to do if. Let's create a global thing. So let's do final bool. And do tablet. And do is equal to is tablet context. Now it should automatically pop it up from the responsive scaffold package. If it does, go ahead and do that. And we're going to do tablet breakpoint. The breakpoint. So tablet breakpoint. Perfect. Now we have this variable that we can call if it's a tablet. Okay. So here we'll just use the local one though. If tablet right here. If not tablet, sorry. If not tablet, we'll do navigator of. We're going to do the root navigator. The true, and we're going to pop. Flutter has a built-in navigator, which makes developing with cross-platform things way easier. So now, if we go in and tap delete, it's going to automatically delete that. Okay, let's do a hot restart to get our data back. We can also, if we want to, we can go into dummy data, create email item. We can copy that and just paste a couple, go back to home.dart, and on the email fab, let's pull out the void callback. So do void callback. We're going to do onPressed. We're going to replace this with onPressed and add it to our constructor. Email fab, open curly brace, and then onPressed. If you go back down to home, we'll be able to do onPressed, add our method braces, and we'll call set state emails add, and then we're going to pass in the email item and customize it. So this is going to create a new email when we tap that. Perfect. And if we go in and delete one, it'll just delete that item, as well as we can also change and unfavorite specific ones. Okay. So let's go back to our email view. Actually, go back to home.dart. And let's give it the app bar elevation of 0. Cool. All right. And let's go back. Now we can go to our email view. And we need to get the preview. So let's do inside of our stateful widget, let's do string and preview. Call init state. Now we're going to do root bundle. That's the assets that you load with the app. We're going to import Flutter services. So I'll do root bundle dot load string. And we're going to pass in our path to the markdown that we created from earlier, email underscore preview .md. And after that, we're going to do then data. So make it, because it's an asynchronous request, give it open parentheses data and then add a open curly braces. We're going to do set state. Now we're going to do preview equal to data. Data. And we're going to just print to the log preview. Cool. So what it's going to do is going to load from the asset bundle, find the string, and then if it exists, we're going to do this. So if you want to be safe, you can do if data is not equal to null, an if statement, and then it'll load it. Otherwise, we're going to load a progress indicator. So down here, if preview, if preview is equal to null, we're going to return a container inside that container. We're going to have a child of a center, the child of circular progress indicator. Now, if when we tap on the item, it should load for a second. Cool. Now we want to return, if it does exist, we want to return the markdown. So do child, and we're going to do a column. Inside that column, we're going to have a container. With a child of a row. Some padding to that. So let's do padding. Widget sets all 12. And we'll do main axis alignment. The row. Do space between. Okay. So in this row, we're going to have an expanded with a child of text. That text is going to be the item. So we do widget dot item dot title and give it a default value of empty string. We're going to give it max lines. Three. Two. And we're going to give it a style of theme of context, and we're going to do text theme of title. Outside the expanded, we're going to do an icon button we created earlier. So we do icon, new icon, drill down icons of, we're going to do favorite. So we can actually, what do we do, star. What we do is go back to the email tile and copy this because it's going to be the exact same. So we can copy this icon button. And we can replace it. And just add widget dot item right here. I can spell it right. And then we're going to do widget dot favorite changed. Okay, so outside of the container, we're going to do one more expanded. And it's going to have a child of Markdown. Go ahead and double click to import. If it doesn't see it, just do Flutter Markdown, import Flutter or Markdown. There it is, Flutter Markdown. I'm going to give it some data, which is a string, and the preview. All right, so let's see if that works. Let's tap. Awesome. So what it does is it actually goes through our asset bundle and loads this markdown that we added from earlier. Not only that, but you can tap, hit delete, and it will remove it. We have our app sidebar. So now let's work on the tablet because, like I said earlier, we want to display a tablet view that works a lot better. So if you're on a Mac, what you can do is just click hardware, device, iOS, and let's go down to, let's create the iPad 5th generation. So it's going to load that real quick. Let's go ahead and hit stop. Let's rotate it so you can do command and then one of the arrow keys. Now make sure it's selected over here. And we're going to go ahead and hit run. And let's also go back to our home page. It's going to load it real quick. So out of the box, we have this, which looks okay. So when you tap on it, it's going to load the view on the right. All these are exact same. So let's change it to where we can detect which ones are different. So go back to your dummy data or data. And just make some new data. Hot restart, command, the arrow key, and then do hot restart. There we go. So it should, yep, there we go. Changes the title for you. Now, if you use the Gmail app on the actual one, you'll know that it actually has a sidebar. So what we can do is go back down to home. And let's fix the flex. So you can do tablet, flex, list view. We're gonna do 4. And then we're gonna do tablet side menu, which requires a flexible. And we're gonna do flexible. And inside that, we're gonna have a flex of 1. I have a child of a placeholder. So that's already in the right place. So let's go ahead and actually create that. So go to your app, and then now let's create the app side menu. App side menu.dart. Let's import material. Now let's create a stateless widget. So do st for stateless, and we're going to do app side menu. Okay. Inside that, we're going to have We're going to do a safe area to make sure because the new iPads can actually go up right up against the edge of the screen. So you want to make sure that nothing gets cut off. So we're going to do a child of a column. We're going to do icon button. An icon. I'm going to use the first one's going to be a menu. Pressed. And copy this for convenience. Or actually, let's give it a comma first. Now let's copy this. I'm going to paste it 3 more times. And change the bottom one to star border. Next one to people outline. And the second one to inbox. So under the on pressed of the menu, we can do scaffold of context. We need to do open drawer. What it's going to do is going to look up the widget tree to see if there's a scaffold to open up. All right, so if you go back, let's change placeholder to app sidebar. Double click to import it. Oh, side menu, sorry. Double click to import it. And now it should load the widgets on the left. Now this is all great, but what about on this? We want to hide this because it's mobile and that list view doesn't exist right now. So let's go back to the floating app bar. Well, let's do this first. Let's take the flexible. We're going to do from the function we created earlier, check if it's a tablet. We're going to add the side menu. Otherwise, it will be null. Now go to the floating app bar. And we're going to do automatically imply leading if it's not a tablet. Perfect. Now let's make sure it's only doing the left side. In the detail view, let's check, see what's going on. Cool. So if we want to run it on mobile, we can just you can hit add and all the things work just like mobile. Let's now stop our app and let's run it on the mobile device one more time to make sure everything is working correctly. Hit start. Should just take a couple seconds and we're good to go. So now when you tap, it goes to the details, and when you tap here, it adds the menu. And if you're on a tablet, it will show the side menu, which let's go ahead and run it on the tablet. With Flutter, if it's hot reloading all the code, so if you open it up after you're debugging, it's going to load the first version of the code that you had started with. So now it'll load the new one. Perfect. Okay, that does it for this tutorial. I'm going to add the links in the description for the Gmail app so you can download the final source code and get it up and running. If you have any questions, please reach out to me and let me know. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm going to try to start doing these more, maybe even create like a digestible one of this longer video, but hope it's useful for someone. If it is, let me know in the comments. Thanks. If you enjoyed, also like it and subscribe it. Thanks.